There's money that we are allocating to the impacted areas, and there's money there to help people who truly need it. There are survivors who need the funding, and it's there.
That you don't like misinformation.
I actually said we have the money available to help survivors of Hurricane Helene and also Hurricane Milton. Now, there's going to be a shortfall, right? Because we don't know how bad Hurricane Milton is going to be. And so we're going to need additional funding.
In a tense White House press briefing, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre found herself at the center of a heated exchange over disaster relief funding. The discussion quickly escalated as reporters, particularly Peter Doocy, pressed for clarity on the administration's response to recent natural disasters.
Here's what I'm going to be very clear about. The president and the vice president has had a robust whole of government response to this. Hundreds of millions of dollars. I said it at the top, more than $200 million that we have directly put towards survivors here for disaster help. And that's because of this president's commitment to make sure that we are there for communities that are impacted. We take this very seriously again. And before the hurricane hit, we pre-positioned more than 1,500 federal folks on the ground to help. And so we have made sure that every state has gotten their storm requested emergency declaration. They requested it, and we made sure they received it. We've taken this very seriously. More than $200 million that we have provided to the impacted areas.
Jean-Pierre's emphasis on the administration's immediate response and allocation of funds set the stage for what would become an increasingly contentious exchange. As Doocy continued to press for details, the conversation took a sharp turn.
President Biden is fond of saying, "Show me your budget and I will tell you what you value." If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir. What you do? Yes, it's misinformation.
Is there money to send to Lebanon right now?
I just mentioned to you that we provided more than $200 million to folks who are impacted in the area, and I just shared with you that people are deciding not to.
The accusation of misinformation heightened the tension in the room, with Jean-Pierre firmly defending the administration's actions, while Doocy sought to highlight perceived inconsistencies in funding allocation.
To the impacted areas, but instead, people want to do disinformation, misinformation, which is dangerous. Because then when folks on the ground hear that, they may not want to ask for the help that they need. That is there for them. That's our focus here.
But President Biden is fond of saying, "Show me your budget and I will tell you what you value." If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir. What you do? Yes, it's misinformation.
As the exchange continued, Jean-Pierre's frustration became increasingly apparent. She sought to redirect the conversation to the broader context of disaster relief efforts and the role of Congress.
I just mentioned to you that we provided more than $200 million to folks who are impacted in the area, and I just shared with you that people are deciding not to.
Wait. To Congress that there's not enough money to help people in North Carolina.
We're talking about the SBA disaster loan.
That's money for people in North Carolina.
And that's important, and people in North Carolina need that. Wait, this is nothing new. Peter, this is nothing new. Congress comes together, they provide money, millions of dollars, for disaster relief. We're asking them to do the job that they have been doing for some time.
From a letter that President Biden sent to Johnson, McConnell, Schumer, and Jeffries. The president's letter is not misinformation. Would you agree?
No, the way you're asking me the question is misinformation.
The back and forth between Jean-Pierre and Doocy highlighted the complex interplay between immediate disaster response, long-term funding needs, and the role of Congress in approving additional aid. As the tension in the room continued to build, Jean-Pierre made a final attempt to clarify the administration's position.
There's money that we are allocating to the impacted areas, and there's money there to help people who truly need it. There are survivors who need the funding, and it's there.
That you don't like misinformation.
I said
That's
that,
very-
I actually said we have the money available to help survivors of Hurricane Helene and also Hurricane Milton. Now, there's going to be a shortfall, right? Because we don't know how bad Hurricane Milton is going to be. And so we're going to need additional funding. That's
exactly what I just asked about. And you said it was misinformation. Yes.
What you're asking me is why Congress needs to come back and do their job. That's what you're asking me. Congress needs to come back and do their job and provide extra assistance, extra funding to disaster relief fund. That's what Congress needs to do, and we're going to continue to urge that. You may not want that, but that's okay. That's what this president wants, and that's what the vice president wants.
With these final words, Jean-Pierre abruptly ended the briefing, leaving a wake of unresolved questions and heightened tensions. The dramatic exit underscored the challenges faced by the administration in managing public perception and media relations, particularly in times of crisis. In the aftermath of the briefing, discussions arose about the broader implications of this exchange for the administration's communication strategy and its ability to effectively convey its disaster response efforts to the public.
Oh, well, the campaign of Kamala Harris, Carly, it was flawless for 4 weeks because Kamala Harris was the, chat GPT candidate, right? Programmed, scripted, homogenized, only spoke what was fed to her in a teleprompter a la Ron Burgundy. But then she provided her economic plan 2 weeks ago and talked about price fixing on businesses like supermarkets, which operate at a profit margin under 2%. She talked about $25,000 just handed out for free to new homeowners, which would crash the economy similar to what it did in 2008. And then Kamala Harris then insisted in that rhetorical Swedish massage interview with CNN and Dana Bash last week that 4 years ago, she said on a debate stage that she was pro-fracking. That never happened. That was shown to be a lie.
While this commentary was not directly related to the press briefing incident, it highlighted the broader context of media scrutiny and political positioning that often influences public discourse on important issues like disaster relief. As the administration moved forward, questions remained about how to effectively communicate its disaster response efforts while navigating the complex landscape of media relations and public perception. The incident with Jean-Pierre and Doocy served as a stark reminder of the high stakes involved in these interactions.
It's a debate for the 2024 presidential election.
I'm not asking what argument he is going to make at a debate. I'm just at.
It's not an argument. We're not talking about arguments. You're talking about his attendance.
You
need
get a
to
lot
talk
of
to the
questions in
campaign.
here about these polls concerning the president's age and his acuity. Do you think that it is going to quiet concerns about the president's age and acuity if he decides not to debate?
What I can say about that is not talking about the debate. That's something for the campaign to speak to. Not going to speak about that. To your question about age, I think I sort of answered that. I mean, you're going to see the State of the Union tomorrow. You're going to hear the president lay out his plans. You're going to hear a president who has had a successful 3 years of progress. Still a lot more work to be done, but a progress nonetheless, and how he's going to build on that.
This exchange, while focused on a different topic, further illustrated the challenges faced by the administration in managing media inquiries and public perceptions across a range of issues. This tense exchange raises serious questions about the White House's communication strategy and Jean-Pierre's effectiveness as press secretary. Her confrontational approach and abrupt exit left key questions unanswered, potentially undermining public trust in the administration's disaster response. What do you think? Did Jean-Pierre's handling of Doocy's questions demonstrate competence or incompetence? How might this impact the public's perception of the administration's ability to manage crises? Share your thoughts in the comments below.